Here with reaction to my open and this ridiculous impeachment charade, counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, who joins me now. You know, Kellyanne, I want to talk some issues with you, but I have to ask you about the president's letter to the Senate tonight. The president responded, and we're going to have Pam Bondi on in a little bit to talk about the actual answer to the House's impeachment letter, the impeachment brief. So with this letter that the president responded from the White House, it makes it clear that there seems to be no crime and nothing that they can actually even defend.
Well, the president and his great legal team made exactly that point, Jeanine. This is procedurally deficient and flawed, and it is constitutionally unsupported. Let's go back just a few months. We were promised bribery, extortion, quid pro quo, high crimes and misdemeanors, and there's nothing here that even approaches that. In fact, those words are not in the actual articles of impeachment. If you look at just the two articles of impeachment, you can basically write them on your hand or put them on a little Post-it note, a little index card. They're very thin. So for all the promises and all the haymakers out there screaming their heads off about this, what the Senate will have to focus on are these two articles of impeachment. And the House came up with very little. Look, I have a slightly different view than maybe others. I think that when people look back at the beginning of January 2020, they're going to only think about the economic boom times, these two major trade deals in 2 days. A Dow Jones that exploded past 29,000 and will keep on going forward. The fact that the lowest 25% of our economic rung are actually enjoying the greatest wage boost. This is a blue-collar boom in the Trump economy, and people think about things in very large swaths. They won't think about the impeachment. Nancy Pelosi says he's impeached forever. She's going to have to answer for why they got so little done as Democrats. But the USMCA creating 76,000 new auto jobs. Reuters even reported probably 0 of the 15 auto companies will move their production overseas and take the tariffs instead. 176,000 jobs created overall. You look at the China deal, it's the first time in history somebody has a dispute resolution and a fully enforceable trade deal with China that benefits the USA.
I do want to talk about China, but I want to back up for a second at USMCA. You know, that was held up by Pelosi for months and months and months.
Yes, correct.
How many people could have had a job during that period of time? And also now...
Jeanine, it's so true. People should know that.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. There's a little delay. I apologize.
Okay, but let's talk about now the China deal. And I understand Phase 1 requires China to buy an additional $40 billion in agricultural products over what they're buying already. I mean, no one's talking about this because Pelosi is going on with this nonsense that's now in the Senate.
We're talking about it, and I think history will not look kindly on the instigators and the investigators of this period and will reward those, beginning with President Trump, who actually showed courage and boldness in transforming our economy and our relationship with the world's second largest economy, China. A quick review. We had a $500 billion trade deficit every year with China. They were forcing technology transfers, stealing intellectual property. That's been addressed in this agreement. And the total amount of goods and services that China will now buy under the agreement is $200 billion. $40 billion is agriculture. But this is fully enforceable, and there's a 90-day period if we're dissatisfied with the way things are going. There are remedies that we can exact. But I think most importantly is the way President Trump approached this deal. He had his team with Ambassador Lighthizer, Secretary Mnuchin, and others. He didn't take the deal last May when he could have, Jeanine. He could have taken a deal. He didn't think it was the best deal for America. But the American worker, American farmer, rancher, manufacturer, they're all going to benefit from the USMCA and the China trade deal and this booming economy. That's what history will show was going on in January 2020. We're about 1 year away from his next inauguration. And he will go to Davos in a couple of days and talk about the economic miracle that is the United States of America.
What is the president going to Davos, Switzerland, on the very date that the impeachment trial begins in the Senate? What message is the president sending with that?
The message he sends every single day. He goes to work every single day on behalf of the American people. And the results in the delivery, the progress report of the first 3 years of this presidency tells the entire tale. It really doesn't matter what they're doing. They're wasting their time and your money, taxpayers, on this ridiculous trial to try to, and they know what the outcome is. We already know the outcome.
Right.
The president will not be removed from office. He will be reelected to office. And this economic boom will continue. The deregulation, and by the way, the energy, people don't talk enough about that too. The deregulation and the energy, Jeanine, 7 new regulations, 1 new regulation in, 7 regulations out. We're saving billions of dollars. And these regulations that are intrusive, invasive, expensive, and expansive, the real people impact is now that people are more free to choose what they do. And the energy explosion is crazy in this country. We are now net exporters of natural gas and oil in a way where we're not depending on these foreign dictators as much. And we're exporting energy.
What's amazing about it is the animal spirits that started almost as soon as the president took office. Anyway, Kellyanne
Does it really matter? I know it's frustrating. It's annoying. I'm not sure it matters because the boom continues and people feel it and they know it. Thank you, Jeanine.
You got it.